somebody else speaking about you, it's really quite heartening. So thank you to the organizers once again to give me the opportunity to present my views. And this is going to be, I believe, a hat trick on the same topic. So the onus somewhere lies, and I cannot, repeat the same thing again. So this time coming with new ideas, new thoughts in my mind, because constantly there are so many things happening related to Indian knowledge systems. So I would like to also like to appreciate the participants who have joined for this faculty development program, because constantly this academy IoT has been instrumental in actually doing things for the academia. And so I really appreciate this effort, and I being a part of it makes me really happy. So before I begin, I know this is the last day and everybody might be actually wanting to now just get done and receive a certificate. And for me, it becomes a little challenging. Why? Because now, majorly because I could not listen to all the talks. Only yesterday in the evening, I was able to lend a little bit of my ear and try to listen as to what the speaker was saying. So I beg your pardon in advance in case if I'm repeating myself. But my entire, I would say, my initiative or my attempt over here is to bring about a new aspect when it comes to Indian knowledge system. And ma'am, before I begin, if you, with your permission, I would like to share the screen.
Yeah, sure, ma'am.
Yeah. I am keeping my camera off because like I have, people around. So just not to disturb when this flow of thoughts are going on. So I'll start presenting my screen. Is it visible, ma'am?
Yes, ma'am, it's visible, ma'am.
Okay, thank you. Just a minute. Okay, before we begin, I will just like to run through what I have been earlier presenting and talking about. A journey I had discussed about a journey through the India's rich linguistic and literary heritage, because we know that India, if it is called the golden bird, or in Hindi, if we say Sone ki Chidiya, it means that we had and we have a rich heritage, and which was, you can say, something which everybody revered and they always wanted to, they always thought about it, and they always felt that how could a place with so much of diversity, a nation be like that. And that's the reason why we were also under the colonial rule. So my entire talk majorly is going to focus on that aspect. So always, why do we need Indian knowledge system? A lot of discussions, a lot of topics, and all of this has been happening over the time. And I believe in colleges and everywhere we are having. And nowadays, if I'm not wrong, even in our curriculum, we have nowadays one department, and we have a Sanskrit teacher also. That is the latest update. Even in my own college, we have a faculty who is now going to be there, who's going to teach Sanskrit. And then in our club also, we have an Indian knowledge system club, which conducts activities. So the purpose and the reason why we are doing this is something which I believe all of us are clear, and we are trying to do our level best. But how far we are supposed to go as individuals, because at some point or the other, we are a mentor, we are a teacher, we are a parent, and we are the ones who are leading our students to the future. And always we say that the onus of our nation lies on our youth. But then the question is it the youth, or it's the sensitized youth who has to actually be aware of what is happening around? So when it comes to college teaching and when it comes to us as teachers, we know that now there is introduction of Indian languages. The curriculum nowadays, as per the revision of new education policy, has the component of mother tongue language also in our curriculum. So the government is trying to do its initiative So does it only like rest on the government's hand, or it is we as individuals and teachers who also have to take up this responsibility? Is something which I'm going to constantly ask in a rhetorical manner. And we know the history, that how once upon a time India was rich in its culture, and then gradually how because of colonization, how English language came in between, and still it is dominant. And then there is this constant dilemma in our mind, that at one point we are talking about the global aspect, where we have to move from within, and we have to increase our approach. One point is there, and then the other hand we are thinking our language, our culture. Is it still in that notion that we feel that, okay, if we speak something from our own state, it becomes primitive, or if we speak English, then it makes a difference? So constantly this thing always keeps on playing in our mind. But then gradually what I'm trying to do is I'm going to picture everything in front of us. We can just picturize everything and see how it was, how it is, and how we are trying to make it. That is how we are going to introspect and see, and what is our role in doing so. And by default, we sitting over here attending such kind of FDPs shows that we are interested, and we, if provided the roadmap, we will be able to somewhere or the other contribute towards the progress of our nation. So first of all, we need Indian knowledge system for education, because we need to sensitize our children about the culture, the intellectual roots that we have. We cannot be dependent on the westernized aspect of education, because somewhere or the other this modernization is taking us for a toss. But then on the other hand, are we able to pace up with the modernization and keep up to our culture? Are we still owing that foundation, the roots, are they still strong, or we are forgetting our past? That is something that we have to keep asking ourselves. And somewhere or the other, language plays a integral role in our language, in Indian knowledge system. So this is something that we have to understand. And when I talk about language, I do not talk only about English language, because see, I belong from the Department of English. So obviously my way or the approach will be based on the English aspect. But what I'm trying to talk to each one of you out here is the language that we know, our mother tongue. How much are we contributing? We are just using it for communication, or we are preserving it not only for our generation or our ancestors, the children, are the students who we are teaching. Because somewhere or the other, if you go to see, if I talk about, say, for example, I'm here in Bangalore and we have additional English. So we still see that the requirement or the demand of English language, even though the students have a command over it, they will opt. Why? Because that's easier. They will not go in for another language, that is Hindi, or because it is Karnataka, they will not go for Kannada or something like that. So are we trying to put in efforts to sensitize students that if you, in some way or the other, if you are trying to choose something which is putting you in discomfort, but in the longer run, it is giving you a better idea, a newer approach to deal with your own culture. So that's how education plays a role. Then we all know that we all might be wondering, like, is it just because the government is saying, or is it just because it is as per the new norms that we have to be sensitized about Indian knowledge systems? But then we also should be convinced as to what is the need of Indian knowledge system in the present generation. We all know our curriculum already has started with the new education policy since 2020. We have new subjects. We have one section where we have this component, and we all might be doing it in our syllabus also. We are, highlighting it with a specific color, where we say that, yes, this component belongs to the Indian knowledge systems. So yes, we are doing it. But are we doing it just because we have been asked to, or when we are integrating, or when we are creating our syllabus, are we incorporating, is one question. Next is, we are also getting this opportunity of employment. We are also getting this opportunity of showing our expertise. Like if I am now speaking about Indian knowledge system, it never happened earlier. But now I'm also, doing a lot of research, trying to understand what happened earlier and what is the present scenario. So, like I told you earlier, also in my college, we have a specific department now where the people who are with this core specific subject, that is also giving employment opportunities. There are structural reforms in education when it comes to Indian knowledge system. So all of this is instrumental, and we know how it is integrated in our subject, and all these topics have been covered very beautifully in this faculty development program. Yeah. So now coming to my topic on which I feel that I should throw some light and try to, bring about a thought process in your mind, that when we deal with our subject, how does it work? And what I'm trying to do is, I'm trying to focus through this lecture of mine. Maybe it might seem directed only towards one aspect, but then that is just, we cannot try to cover. Like I told, my philosophy of life is that we cannot change everything all of a sudden. But if we try to bring about little change, automatically it will bring a big difference in the longer run. So, yes, now this is what I would like to begin with: how we were, how we are, and how we are perceiving to be. The impact of colonization. When we talk about India, we always now eventually end up talking about the time before the colonial rule, before we were the slavery, or we could say that the rule, the pre-colonial rule, how things were. We all know that we all were studying in gurukuls, tolls, pathshalas, madrasa. That was the way, that was the method of studying. And it was a community-based kind of a residential setup. Now, again, constantly we have to keep on thinking about our past and how still the past is important for us, is something, our roots, how important is something that I'm trying to make you all aware of. Our curriculum, it was consisting of Vedas, it was consisting of Sanskrit, logic, grammar, astronomy, and the artistic aspect, the ethical aspect, and the practical skills. And we can see that how the teaching used to happen, how we all used to be sitting on the ground, and how even if we were sitting in groups, how it was a one-to-one interaction where the teacher and the students used to be doing this teaching and learning. Then what happened? Then came the sad part, or you can say part which we never imagined. The British came as guests, we always keep on saying, and then they came and they started ruling over us. And we all know that from the 1800s, the British began establishing Western style schools, and we all still have those schools which are prevalent, even though we know that it has a quality, it has a standard, it has all of it. And then we know, like we have the Sanskrit College in 1824, then the Calcutta Madrasa, the La Martinia, and the missionary-run institutions. And still they are prevalent. But then, again, the question in our mind is how it began. And if it began, to what extent have we absorbed it, or are we still carrying forward with that kind of a thing? Because whenever it comes to make a choice for our own children, we will always want our children to certainly earlier, like when I was a kid, my parents always wanted that I should go to a missionary school. Now, missionary does not mean right or wrong. Missionary means somewhere or the other that British colonization feeling was still dominant, the structure, the way they managed everything. So are we only appreciating that part, or we are at the cost of that eclipsing all that we had in the name of Indianness, is the question. Over here, I'm not trying to support or negate or do anything, but what I'm trying to bring about is discussing how and what is needed when it comes to the education, because the majority or the foundation of our children is in the schools and in the colleges. So what happened is these schools were established, and then we knew that education became more formal medium, everything became exam driven, it was focusing on training clerks and administrators, All of them were there, but then what were they doing is the British, they were trying a Eurocentric approach. They were providing education, they were doing all of it, but for what? They were doing it for glorifying their own language, that is English. But then that's a phase which is now over. Now it's the present day. Modern schools in India now blend. We know our modern education system. We have classrooms, we have labs, we have digital technology, while retaining cultural elements. Now, what we are trying to do is, do we have a space which reflects the Indian tradition? Do we have that? That is the question which is again in our hands. So, this is something which we have to constantly keep on thinking about. And new education policy, the enforcement of this is to emphasize, to integrate, and to once again bring about the indigenous knowledge systems in our curriculum is the main effort and the reason for it. So this is something that we have to understand. Now coming into the linguistic tapestry and its erosion. Now, explaining a little more about this point, I would like to say that India, it boasts to have a heritage of over 780 languages. We have only official 22 languages, but if we talk about the heritage, which we are proud about, we have 780 languages deeply embedded in the diverse communities. There are so many communities and they all have their own language, they have their own dialect. But language, it's not just for communication, but a world view, history, and cultural identity. When you say that you have 780 languages, can you imagine that picture which comes? You see the map of India and just you try to place that image of how many languages are spoken, the diversity. It is not just limited to the diversity of the states or the topography. It's about beyond those kind of things. So are we aware of these kind of facts? If we are aware, do we let our students also know about this when we give lectures? Is something that we have to keep on constantly thinking. Fine, we know we have 780 languages, but then is that colonial impact still on us? Are we trying to forget all of that and cover it all with English? That is again something which we have to think. Now we can over here see that how the British rule had introduced English, and gradually what happened is the marginalized regional languages, all of them, they started fading away, they started dying away. Why? Because nobody wanted to speak that. And then gradually, now comes the time when languages are getting extinct. So in my upcoming slides, I would like to show how the things are shaping up and how gradually it's diminishing. And the purpose of Indian knowledge systems in the new education policy is trying to revive, reawaken, and bring in these aspects. And one example is of Bayet. It's the language spoken by the Northeast Indian tribe. If we have any participant who is from Northeast, I believe you can acknowledge and let me know that yes, this is also one language which is out of the many languages which was surviving only through the oral traditions, the songs, or the folk tales. It was not documented. It was only through the oral traditional form, in the form of songs or in folk tales. Okay. So now, as per UNESCO, when we went through this survey and all these information which it shares over here, we can see that this talks about the illustration of especially the northeast part of the central India, where many indigenous languages are endangered. Endangered means they still exist, but if we do not pay attention, if we do not sensitize our own selves and the upcoming generations, this also will become extinct. Which means where we say 780 languages, out of which 196 are endangered. So we can see how we ourselves are instrumental in it. So what's happening gradually is we are visually, declining, because wherever we go to see, we end up, because of style, because of accent, because of what the world does, we also want to keep up in pace with that. But then are we still sensitive enough to retain what we have? Then coming to the next, it talks about the linguistic map. One, this earlier one was talking about the languages. This talks about the linguistic distribution shown in India, the rich tapestry of languages, which many localized dialect tones. It is across India. And you can see not only the states, but the diversity of the language that is spoken over here. And I believe or not, the participants who are over here, for sure, you might be, identifying your own state, might be trying to, skim through and see like, okay, which is my state and which language is my mother tongue and what do I speak. So yes, if you remember it, if you know it, if you speak it, and not just because okay, my grandmother spoke or my mother spoke, but my children, they do not speak the complete language in a proper manner. So again, that responsibility lies in our hand. If I speak Hindi, do I speak completely good Hindi? Do I have the proficiency of the LSRW of it? Or it's just like, okay, one aspect. Okay, I can listen, I can comprehend, I can make out what is there, and that's the end of it. So that is again something which we can practice. And they always say cognitively or psychologically, the more languages you know, the more new languages you learn, the more your memory power is retained. So this is again a food for thought for us. Now, coming to this third one is say, forget, okay, if it is too difficult, our life is chaotic, our life is too complicated, too busy we are with things, because teachers in the previous times and the teacher of the present time, at least the states that we have, the language that we speak, let us retain that. And retain it not for diversity, but for inclusivity and to maintain that rich culture. Let's communicate with a common language, but let's preserve our own respective mother tongue. So it's a graphic representation of an image which is taken by the Deccan Chronicle, emphasizing the urgent need to preserve the indigenous languages, many with only a handful of elderly people speaking. I think so all of us in our own families, we can just reflect and think, have we done away with the language? Are we speaking only the colonized language, or we are speaking the language which belongs to us? So this is again a call to action to document and teach these tongues in our local schools. Let us have one language period, and let this language period, because I really love when a Hindi teacher comes to a class. So the region from where I come, Rajasthan, so that Hindi teacher will not speak anything and speak the high level of Hindi. And that's the reason why I always love the muhavre, the lokokti, and all of it. So do we do it in our respective subjects is something that we are thinking about. Now, again, trying to throw light. This, again, I'm trying to narrow it down to one tribe, or I would say this is the Northeastern Bayet tribe, a traditional portrait of a couple in the cultural attire. Again, this is a question for all of us. The food that we eat, is it only limited to the weddings? Because nowadays you might have noticed that our culture only comes strong only when it is the wedding time, or maybe only when it is festival. And nowadays, because of social media, just because we want to post some reels, or just because we want to show the world in our status that yes, this is the culture that I'm following, is it only limited to that? Or we really feel it from within that yes, I belong to Rajasthan, I belong to Kerala, I belong to Gujarat? Do we hesitate when we wear the costume? Do we have, let's ask a question to our own selves, do you have your own traditional costume with you? Even if one member also has it, it means yes, we are contributing. So this is again something which we have to think. We don't want the government only to do everything. These are the things which are in our hand. In your classroom, do you have a day where you say, okay, come on, come, do something which reflects your own state? So that is again talking about the language, the literature, and the culture which can be taken care. Now coming to the next part, that is the Bayet tribe. Now I'm going to focus more about this tribe and try to throw some light and see that how they are trying to preserve, and how the people out there, they feel that the coming generation is not understanding the value of their own language. So where it's one of the oldest tribe in Dima Haso, that is in Assam. It possesses a unique dialect, culture, and history. And the dominant languages over there are half-long Hindi, the Dimasa, and the English prevail in the public areas. Okay, so that's the way it is spread out. And by it is spoken at home. Fine. And it is something which is preserving the identity through customs, through songs and folklore, including the 7 day Nulding. Maybe my pronunciation is wrong, but it's a festival where it symbolizes a new year. And it was a couple, that is Piyush Goswami and Akshata Shetty. They went and they tried to, cover this entire tribe, and they tried to bring about how these things are happening. So over here, we can see, now I'm trying to show you through this picture that first is over here we can see that how they are trying to maintain the costume, and how through their temple where they are just through their folk dance, and through the festivals where they have flags, where they have guests, they try to bring about their culture. So somewhere or the other, the dance, the singing, all of this takes us back to our culture where we belong. Or are we just ending up with some hype song of the generation? You might have noticed that songs that were sung in the earlier days, they were classic. Even today, you listen to the music, you remember the lyrics of it. But the present generation song, not even a week and you forget the song. And even if you remember some numbers, those are item numbers which have no value, no quality. And then how can we blame our youth? So somewhere or the other, where is it going wrong? The people who are choosing these professions, why are they not able to retain what was of the past? Again, the music directors, the singers, all are children of Indians. So are we retaining that is again something that we are supposed to ask. Now, coming to just wrapping up this entire thing is that all we can do is we want that what our elders say, what we do, it has to be preserved by the younger generation. Now coming to the forgotten songs. Yeah, so over here, we are just half time, so I'll try to complete, and then maybe we can discuss not only this region, but the others also. So yeah, trying to understand. Now, this again, you please, I have taken a screenshot, and over here, if you read the caption, you can see that how these people have tried to cover this information. And we can see that a member of the Bayet Hill tribe, he's playing a thele, which is actually a flute that is hand carved out of the local wood. Okay, and over here we can see that this is the Indian electronic musician and the sound designer, that is Vinayaka, and the Bayet tribal musicians performing at a magnetic field festival. So over here we can see that how these people, the elders still carry forward the culture, and they symbolize the raw, the ancestral. It's not about music, it's about the essence of where you belong and these melodies. Because you might have noticed in the fields also, people earlier, nowadays everything has become industrialized, everything has become mechanized. So a tractor comes or a harvester comes and it clears the field and we get the crop ready. We don't need anybody as such. But earlier what used to happen, everything used to happen manually. So how people used to try to get over their pain or their tirednesses, they used to sing songs and they used to enjoy that. So maybe, yeah, we have to advance, but to what limit? At the cost of forgetting our culture is something that we have to ask. Coming to the next part, that is sharing songs on stage. So here we can see that how maybe we don't want you to go and sing in the fields, but then we can give a platform to them. Can't we tell them? Can't we make them comfortable? Or maybe if they can't come on stage, can't we give them the opportunity? Can't we tell them to, record and let it become alive. Let us use our technology for the same. And then again, we can see that how the younger generation members, they somewhere or the other, they, because they are still connected with their families, they can go about and they can do this entire episode of preserving this. Now, how did this picture, okay, because this was an article which I'll again show it to you in a small clipping, where it shows that Piyush Goswami and, like I told you, Akshita Shetty, they formed this Forgotten Songs collective document. And this is about the Bayat music using traditional instruments like the flute, which is called thele. And then they made it into a creative collaboration in the year 2018. It was a fusion of Bayat songs. Why should we only end up in movie songs, or why should we only end up in albums of the create something instead of preserving something that we already have? So again, this is in our hand. And now, because of technology, all that was only oral can be still retained with this elder generation, which is still that's surviving. Now, what we can do is, how we can preserve it is through digital archiving, through school curriculum integration, and bringing these performances instead of just ending up in an ethnic day, or instead of just saying folk dance, we can divide it state-wise and actually tell them to come and reflect. So automatically the children will go back to their homes and ask for the same. So eventually the key impact of this is, this kind of initiative will go beyond documentation. It will revive the culture by staging the traditional music in modern settings. It does not mean that we have to become primitive again. It simply means that we need to relive the past, revive the past, and we have to reawaken ourselves. Because whenever we go abroad, do you feel that they are living, or they are showcasing something which is not of their nation? Why are only we so much influenced by the westernized culture? We see, we all follow that lifestyle. Even our homes are now becoming minimalistic. The way we set our house, we all try to follow. Nowadays with the youth, the Korean style is trending a lot. So what is it that is so catchy about the Korean style? Why can't we do the Indian style and make the Koreans actually love the Indian style? We don't want them to change their style, but then again, do we love our own culture and try to maintain it, or it just ends up with a namaskar and with samosa and that's it? Or it's just like limiting it to something which is only for a temporary span of time. Okay. Now, coming to the next part, we have the ways to revive. Like I discussed about the 780 languages that we have, and the 197 languages that are 197 languages that are endangered, which means something that can be still protected. So over here, we have this People's Linguistic Survey of India. And in this, we could see that this person named Professor G.N. Davy in 2010, what did he do? He mobilized 3,000 plus volunteers. Now, again, this is something which we can utilize when we want to apply for a project. Now, everybody feels that how we can try to do something related to Indian knowledge systems, because nowadays, sometime back, there was proposals last year for tribal community upliftment. There were projects. So now, if that is over, it does not mean everything is over. What we can do is, like this person named G.N. Davy, what did he do is, he mobilized, he took 3,000 plus volunteers all across India, from states and the tribal belts. And what did he do is, he conducted field research, interview, oral recordings, and he published 68 volumes describing grammar, usage, oral traditions, songs, and histories. And the purpose of him was not to do it for some kind of a funding. First of all, you need to have the passion for it. And then what he did is, the goal of his doing was to recognize and preserve the voices of the marginalized community. whose languages were never officially recorded. So can't we do something like this? We have still 780 languages, out of which 197 are endangered. So not this aspect, but maybe as per our subject, as per our expertise, we can go a little more into the depth and understand. Coming to the next part is, just a minute, this, I'll just try to, yeah, sorry for that. Yeah. So this Anandaram Bura Institute of Language Arts Culture of Assam, that is EBILAC. Okay, this also was established in the year 1989, and it talks about the indigenous languages of Northeast India. So if they can know when or how this thing can be taken care of, can't we do it for our own respective states, or at least visit those areas? What did they do is they created trilingual dictionaries, that is local language, Assamese and English, for languages like Mysing and Rabha. They revived. What did they do? What did they do through this institute is something that I'm trying to tell you. What did they do is they created trilingual dictionaries. We understand that maybe our children are not comfortable, or they have not learned the mother tongue, or they have not learned the language which belongs to the state. But how we can change it? Because nowadays you might have noticed that when the children speak, they very quickly pick up the slangs, and you might have seen nowadays their English is in short form. They don't even speak English. They speak languages which are literally an acronym. Like you have this FYI. So this is not a language, but this is the new trending thing. So in the similar manner, this is something which has been developed. That is the local language, Assamese and English. And then what they have done is they have put all this together to represent the language, that is Mysing and Rabha. They have revived endangered languages such as Tai Khamyang and Tai Phake. Over here, this is again the typical language of their region. And what they have done is they have done field documentation, they have done folklore collection, they have conducted linguistic workshops in native languages, native villages, and they have published the grammar and the readers for school use. So what they are trying to do is, what is the grammar of that language is something that they are initiating to do. So automatically we become a little more dedicated to the language and the subject gradually. And then what does this institute do is it empowers the ethnic group by preserving their linguistic identity, ensuring the languages survive both in oral and in written form. Now, gone are the days where we'll say that we only heard the story of our grandmother and we only heard something which was told to us. But now, because of technology and all of this, is something which we can take care of. And then coming to the digital documentation and the community initiatives, we can have workshops like over here they have done for this. We can have this concept which is called as mother tongue school. Then we can even have this Asur Adivasi mobile radio, which was something which was started in the year 2019. We can see that this radio service in Jharkhand, it transmits songs, news, and government information in the native Asuri dialect. Because somewhere or the other, at the back of my mind, I always feel that we as Indians feel that when we talk about India or if we talk about a language, it is a primitive way. We have to be in sync with the present generation. So English, and also not only English, but the American English with that full slang and accent gives us the vibe. No, it's good to retain that as well as our own language. That only will give us the real value of who we are. And then we can see that how it connects the villages and keeps the language relevant with the community members actively participating. Then we have this Singpo mother tongue school in 2009, where his team established the mother tongue school, and no doubtly it did not work out. Why? Because there was lack of funding. But then always we can conduct workshops and we can always document it. Now, coming to the conclusion, and then I will be showing you one video where one way it makes us feel that, yeah, these are the things that we are missing out, but then somewhere in the periphery, all these things still exist. So, just to conclude, I would say India, once a hub of spiritual and intellectual learning, suffered from a Western perception that equated tradition with primitive. That's the sad part. Tradition seems to be primitive as per the Western perception. This led to the neglect of Indian knowledge system and languages. Projects like Forgotten Song Collective and Asuru Adivasi Mobile Radio are some kind of crucial steps towards decolonizing Indian minds and preserving linguistic diversity. Acknowledging concepts rooted in Indian philosophy, such as yoga and meditation, is vital. Indian values and ethics are best understood in their own language, as highlighted by the Sanskrit verse. In fact, only knowledge adorns man. It is such a wonderful treasure that is always safe and hidden. Though we get glory and happiness, knowledge is the teacher of all teachers. In foreign countries, Vidya plays the role of our brothers and friends. That's again something which is very beautiful. Knowledge is the supreme power. King Maharaja also worships and honors knowledge, not wealth. Without knowledge, man is just like an animal. So we have to develop the Indian knowledge system per verbatim, not just ending up and shortening the word and saying IKS. We need to have that knowledge, and knowledge does not limit to something which is around our comfort zone. We have to get beyond it. Now, this entire presentation of mine is a reflection on, or I would say a kind of a review on a paper, a research paper that was actually written in a book by Professor Sanj Agarwal. Okay, so I'm just trying to make use of this and acknowledge his contribution, and this is something which gives me the motivation as a teacher and as an Indian to always be passionate about developing what is in and around our nation. If a language is not transmitted from the older to the younger generation, its death is imminent. Is it death or it is murder is my question. Are we ourselves responsible for it? In the case of the Thai Kumyong community, the language is spoken by a few people between the age of 70 to 80. So again, the elderly are speaking. That means that the language will take only 20 to 25 years to become extinct if it does not get passed on to the generation. So there was an urgency. So there's an urgency to revive the language, because along with its death, the traditional knowledge and the ecological knowledge of the community will be lost forever. So we ourselves are maybe ending it, or to be very crude or very rude to say that we will be the ones who will be actually murdering our own knowledge system. So this is just a very strong thought that I feel. But then on the other hand, through events such like this, we can always reflect and try to regain what we have lost. Now, please give me the permission to show you all a small video. Is it audible? Is it audible, dear participants?
Ma'am, the video is not visible, ma'am.
Okay. I'll share it once again.
Yeah.
Almost every individual in the village has the musical acumen to compose a. I heard a lot from them about
Yes,
India.
Okay.
a pristine tribal hamlet
Just
village about 300 kilometers from Guwahati, where the Bethe tribe lives. They are one of the oldest tribes that reside in Assam, Meghalaya, and Mizoram. Some folklore suggests that the tribe migrated from China many centuries ago. Lal Piyoji and his family greeted us outside his home as we parked the vehicle in their courtyard. We would be staying with him and his family for the next 1 week. For all of rest of my family's project functioning in the area, Lal Piyoji was the pillar of strength. I barely contained my excitement to witness the first rays of the morning sun from the hills of Tindor.
And the philosophy behind rest of my family is very simple. Everybody we meet is our family, is inherently part of our human family, and hence their problems are not just their problems, they invariably become our problems too. Therefore it's our responsibility to try and find a solution to these problems and try to find a way with all the resources and all the ideas and even with all our limitations.
लुरा पाबी बजाने सके एकदम कालका बुराठो उठो लेने से ना पूरा बजाने सके
Almost every individual in the village has the musical acumen to compose a melody. Kumar is a gifted musician. About 20 years ago, he fell from a large tree while trying to save himself from a swarm of bees. In that unfortunate accident, he lost one of his fingers. But he was excited today. They had brought him a brand new electric guitar, and Kumar couldn't wait to test it.
Yeah, okay. So my point of view through this presentation and closing my talk with just one thought, that we all owe a lot to the ancient Indians, teaching us how to count, without which most modern scientific discoveries would have been impossible. Even Albert Einstein says that. So if we as Indians are the creator of things which are used all over, are we proud of our culture and heritage, or it's something that we try and we feel it is primitive? So it's up to us to glorify what we have or be unhappy about sharing it. So on this note, as per the organizers, we can have a short discussion or maybe observation, because this is not a platform where we are literally delivering a lecture. It is just I speak my mind and how I feel and what are your insights about the same. So I would be more than welcome if you have your point of views, or if you have some observations maybe where I could not